Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to another stream. Finally, we are here. Things are going. Fingers crossed. We are going to have a nice, consistent stream today. Unicorn, how are you doing? Tier 2 action, Austria.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to Austria. You know, it's probably the track that you and I have the most experience commentating. And you know, the starts of this week, it's been a bit of a weird one for MRL, but now here we are, Tier 2, familiar grounds on a stream, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely one of those circuits you and I have had a lot of, we'll call it airtime on. When the game had come out, we had spent a great number of hours around here. Of course, 10 turns, 4.3 kilometers, 2.6 miles. 3 DRS straights to utilize here. 10 turns of just, it's a quick circuit around here. We'll take a look at where we've been this season. Of course, we've gone through we started on Australia. We went through Bahrain, Vietnam, China, of course, the Netherlands, Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, Canada. Most recently, we were in Le Castellet in France for the French Grand Prix. Now we are here at the halfway point, realistically, in the season now. It is round 11. It is the Austrian Grand Prix. Now, of course, things don't end with the Austrian Grand Prix. We move on ahead after Austria through into none other than the iconic British Grand Prix. And of course, that's Silverstone there for round 12. Hungary, Belgium, Italy. You have Singapore, as well as Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, and Brazil, rounding things off in Abu Dhabi. Now, let's take a look at the teams on the grid today for Tier 2. I am extremely excited for this race because we had some rain this morning in the Oceanic Division. If you guys were able to catch that stream very, very early, well, for me in Canada anyway, but of course the Oceanic Grid had their first round around Austria today, so that is on YouTube already. The full race can be found there. Kai Bacchini and Jay over at Mercedes. Of course, I do believe Jay is still absent. Work clinging to him right now. He can't get away. So, of course, ATK and Yasko over at Ferrari. You have Gadwin and Liam for Red Bull. Skybits and Little Bear for McLaren with Ali Avci and Undertaker over at Renault. Adrian and Wisp for AlphaTauri. You have the newest comer to the grid. It's Darian Alfie in a full-time position over at Racing Point. Welcome to the Misfits Tier 2 grid, my friend. Extreme 1409 with him there at Racing Point. And then you have Maxim B with CJOS over at Alpha. I'm not 100% if CJOS is present today, but we'll have to see. He'll be happy to be back over with Maxim there for the Alpha squad. You have, of course, the dynamic duo of Crampy and Max Singster for Haas, and then you have Domi and Squid rounding out this grid for the Williams team. Let's take a look at the standings. Now, Domi leading this championship for Williams, 124 points to his name. You have Kai Bacchini there in second, 121. And then not far at all is the Canadian and the reigning Tier 2 champion Liam there in third for Red Bull. It's currently a Mercedes-led championship still. And you have Red Bull there in second with Williams in third. Now, Squid is going to be serving a qualifying ban today. He was supposed to serve it last week, I do believe, but there was some kind of mix-up, so he will be serving it here in Austria. Shame to say it, but yeah, unfortunate. Multiple position changes following post-race penalties. Another reminder to these drivers, Austria, a very fast circuit. It's quick around here, so make sure you are leaving the space, please, and thank you from the stewards, of course. With all that being said, Unicorn, how are we looking to go racing here around the Red Bull Ring?
Yeah, I think we're good to go here. 19 drivers ready. I'm waiting to get going. I think we might have a reserve on its way, but other than that, if we do, someone's just left the lobby, which is not ideal.
Still have a little bit of time there, and I think everybody wants to see a full grid here around Austria, so I don't think anyone has any issue waiting for a few more moments to ensure we get the best possible experience here. Now, talking a little bit about the Oceanic grid, so, well, first off, let's talk. We haven't had an opportunity to be live. EU, you had an opportunity to commentate that solo and did us a major favor in recording it. So, talk to us. How did it go with the EU grid around here?
Yeah, the EU grid was an interesting one. We had a fair few safety cars. I want to say 3, if not 4. And it was a fairly crazy race. We had, a few people missing out on, the pit window or the pit lane under those safety car callouts. So it left a few people a little bit out to dry. But yeah, it was an interesting race for sure. And as everyone seems to be having issues getting into this lobby here. But yeah, a lot of safety cars. So it really threw strategy and caution to the wind there. As well, there was just a lot of races, a lot of people having mistakes. We saw Vettel retire out of turn 4, and the 2 Renaults were doing very well. They fell down the grid order fairly rapidly, and penalties played a huge role in the final standings. So it was definitely an interesting one to watch. A lot of constant action, aided obviously by the numerous safety cars keeping all the action tight. But yeah, a very interesting race and a very good one. My voice didn't thank me for it afterwards, though.
It was such an eventful race watching it back, and then of course the highlights will be up tomorrow for that race in the shortened form, but the full race replay is available on our YouTube channel. Now, one thing to talk about, Gadwin won that race. If I'm not mistaken, it was his first win. So he'll be here on the grid today for Tier 2, and with all that now, I think we've got our drivers locked into action here to go racing. Just going to switch back on over to Formula 1 to head into this short qualifying session. But of course, yeah, the European race, didn't get to stream it, but it was a very good race. And now we had the Oceanic race, which we did get to stream today. It did get cut somewhat short due to some kind of error, completely unrelated to the recent issues. But of course, that was a wet race, Unicorn. The first wet race we've really had where it just bucketed down pretty well start to finish. Ooh, we might get some rain here. Looking doom and gloom.
Yeah, at this point I missed out on the wet race. It's been a while, but like you're saying, very misty up here in Spielberg. As we do have a full grid now. Dirk Chocolate stepping in at last minute to fill that second McLaren seat.
Very nice of Dirk. Go down through the grid. We have Maxim B, Ali Avci. We have Ghazi Egg in a reserve role today for Mr. J over at Mercedes. Undertaker there as well. Kai Bacchini in 5th currently on the grid. You have Extreme, Adrian, Domi, as well as Cotters. And then right behind him, his usual EU teammate, that's Dirk Chocolate, there in 10th. Liam in 11th, Wisp in 12th there. Of course, you have Gadwin, Crampy, Max Inkster, Lamp, Squid, Darian Alfie, and Yasko, with Little Bear rounding out the 20 drivers here on this grid. Because this race, it's a fast grid here for Tier 2. Tier 1 even more so, and we are going to have a very fast night of racing, I think. And I am hoping a very, very clean night of racing. Squid getting his setup dialed in now. Of course, we mentioned he is going to be serving a qualifying ban.
Yeah, and you can already see a few drivers switching onto the medium compound tyres as well. So that's interesting to see. They're sort of playing around with the strategy already, and it can be, an interesting one around here. Obviously, a one-stop, what you really want to be going for. But if we have what we saw in the EU grid in terms of safety cars, it's, a lot of soft and medium running, barely any use of the hards. But it's Cotters first out onto the track in the Alfa Romeo.
Getting confirmation now. It's going to be a full dry campaign. So not going to have the wet element that the Oceanic grid saw earlier today. Now, of course, that wasn't a practice race from the Oceanic grid. They're in full swing of things now. That was their season opener. And it was quite the wild race. Actually, Mikau took a podium. So if you guys enjoy hearing Mikau commentate, Mikau, full-time driver for Red Bull in the Oceanic division, and he is looking quite quick this season. Cotter is the first driver now in the Alpha to start a lap around the Red Bull ring. Let's go through it. We're going to come up down into turn 1. DRS wide open now on the rear wing as we move our way through. You're going to tap through this invisible turn 2. Now up into the heavy braking right-hander of turn 3. DRS powering out now, making his way down into turn 4.
Lamp, he's had a bit of an off out of turn 1, it would seem, missing a lot of his front wing whilst Cotter's soldiers on. And not how he wanted to start tonight off.
Everyone getting to grips with the circuit, maybe a few guys trying to get a few warm-up laps in. You got a difference in tires on the grid right now, a big difference. And there goes Cotters, taking a little bit too much of that exit curb coming out of turn 8. And that's cost him. He is flying once again here.
Yeah, it's Max Inks today with a 104 flat from the Haas driver.
Adrian nearly matching that time. Domi quite quick as well. He jumps into 3rd position on the medium compound tires so far here. And the Red Bull of Gadwin, who, as we said, took a win around here in a very, very dynamic Tuesday European race as a reserve. Now 5th position as Darian Alfie in his debut, his first lap, his first official lap set here in the season is a provisional pole time at 103.358. Nicely done from him. Kai Bacchini at 103.522, not able to dethrone the Racing Point just yet.
Yeah, and I think beating Kai Bacchini by 2/10 on both your initial laps on your debut is not something to be ashamed of. Kai Bacchini, he's been very strong throughout qualifying this season. And, you know, Darian Alfie here coming in 2/10 quicker than him initially. Very impressive, definitely one to watch here.
Crampy has just begun a lap right now on board with Wisp as he flies through Sector 2. Coming down through Turn 5.
Yeah, a lot of drivers aborting their laps, it would seem. Not happy with what they've done. Wisp, though, coming around the penultimate turn. He's on 1 lap old mediums. On to the final turn. Benchmark is Domi's time. It's the 104.5 from Wisp. He's just off the pace of Gadwin and Domi on those medium compound tires.
Yasko crossing the line now. He goes 9th quickest, a 104.8 from him on the yellow rimmed compound. Maxim B, the Canadian, jumps into the front row, a 103.516, just 6 milliseconds ahead of Kai Bacchini.
Yeah, we have Crampy as well now in the Haas. His teammate Max Inkster sitting 5th fastest right now. Where's Crampy getting himself? So 103.989 from the Haas, puts him 4th.
Dirk Chocolate now in a reserve capacity today. What's he going to do around here? It's P11. He's on the softs. It's a 104.6, the first run for him. Getting the late call to come in here. It's getting to grips, I think. I think that might have been a complete car swap. I think I saw him driving a GT3 earlier. Now we've got Lamp flying down into turn 1 in the Ferrari.
Yeah, he's already had that issue spinning out of turn 1 earlier on, so we'll have to see if that problem for him persists. But the Ferrari now coming up to turn 3, a big lockup, and he's gone very deep, and that's pretty much his lap over, to be honest. He's going to have lost so much time going wide and into that runoff area.
Still valid, so I don't know if he's going to finish this just to get a banker on with these mediums, perhaps come out on another set of softs.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You do get I reckon, an extra lap or two, given how short the lap here is around Austria, and obviously the time in the short qualifying session doesn't change. It's still 18 minutes regardless of the length of the track. So with the lap time being so short,
and there it is.
Spend about 3 minutes.
Yeah, he rounded it and invalidated it at the last moment there, and he was getting lucky on a couple of those corners, and somebody who has not gotten lucky is Adrian. I do believe he just started this flyer, and now he's invalidated it, possibly through turn 1. Gadwin's coming up through turn 3, though. He's on a flyer. He is currently on the medium compound tires. You can see all of these drivers setting their times on what tire they did. So you have Darian Alfie down through Max Inkster on the softs. Then you have this chunk of drivers on mediums, Domi through to Liam. Then you have Dirk separating Yasko, and then Gazieg again on the soft. So everybody, just a major difference in choice of tire here. Mediums and softs. Not a lot of people look like they have a clear idea of what they want to do just yet either. Gadwin's opting to go again on these medium compound tires.
You're extreme as well. He's flying right now, coming down towards turn 7. Yet to set a lap time. One of a few drivers here yet to set lap times, whether it's been because of issues or invalidations. But now coming through the penultimate corner in the racing point, his teammate currently sitting on pole. And it's going to be a 104 flat for Extreme. That puts him 7th fastest, just ahead of those aforementioned medium runners.
Malyavchi, 104.6 from the Renault. He gets into 12th position on these medium compound tires, and it's a good position to be near the middle of the field on those mediums. The grid is getting quicker, though. You can see right now the gap to Fakai Bacchini, has now set the provisional pole time. That is a 103.341 with the Mercedes on pole, and of course the gap from him to Darian Alfie is 0.16. Which is very, very, very tight indeed. Of course, Domi isn't too far off. Neither is anybody really on this grid. The gaps to leader quite tight.
Yep, Liam, he seems to have had an issue somewhere. He spent a lot of time out on these medium compound tires. Whether we're going to see him, he's in the pits now, come in for a set of softs and start trying to fight for the top positions here in qualifying. As Dirk Chocolate crosses the line to start a fresh flying lap.
Max Inkster in the Haas right now is actually coming through turn 8, and he's looking to improve, and I think he may be up on his time here as he comes through out of the final turn. Now DRS wide open on the rear. What's it going to be from him? It's a 5/10 improvement, and he goes 6th quickest here, jumping ahead of his teammate Crampy, who has had an issue and a massive crash coming outside of turn 1. He's off just on the inside outside of the pit exit. So that is Crampy's session done. He will not be able to improve, and Max Inkster has jumped him out qualifying Crampy, which, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the first time we've seen Max Inkster do that this season, so he'll be happy with that. But I could be mistaken. Dirk Chocolate right now in that McLaren, of course, he's coming through.
Yeah, he's on for a slight improvement out of Sector 1. Now, coming out of the final turn, is he going to be able to improve overall? It's a 103.8, a big improvement, 7/10. That bumps him up to 7th place in the McLaren, separating those two Hasses we were just talking about, but yeah, not a bad lap from the Brit.
Lamp now is on a set of soft compound tires here, and he is one of the 3 drivers in this session yet to set a time. Of course, Squid unable to do so due to the qualifying ban that he is serving this session out. Of course, Little Bear, no time from him just yet. He's been struggling, I think, to keep it in the limits. Gone on with him for a couple of red circuit track maps. Now we have Lamp coming, though. Keeping it valid here so far.
Yeah, a lot of drivers on outlaps right now, getting ready for the final few moments here in qualifying. 2/3 of the way through.
And he shoots it right into 9th position ahead of Adrian by a very, very minuscule margin.
Domi, he's just started a flyer, currently sitting 3rd.
I do believe that may be
He's invalidated.
Yeah, he's got a red circuit map on that car right now. So not sure what's happened there. Gadwin, meanwhile, he has opted to jump onto some soft compound tires. We haven't seen him do a lap on these yet, so he's coming down into turn 4 in the Red Bull. His teammate Liam is also on an out lap presently, and he's just began his flyer. We'll take a look at the fitted tires, and you can see a good chunk of these drivers are on the softs. Liam isn't one of them. He is just pounding those mediums right now.
Yeah, not quite sure his strategy is. Maybe just putting in, trying to get a sense of pace as Gadwin, his teammate, invalidates coming out of the penultimate corner. I think he would have invalidated out of the last one too. And that's going to leave him invalid for the whole of his next lap as well. So, not what Gadwin wants to be doing there. But it's going to be Domi in the Williams. He's started a new flying lap after he invalidated his previous one.
Aliavci ending a flyer now, coming through at turn 8. Ooh, and he took a big chunk out of that inside curbing. And that's going to be an invalidation for him. We'll see if he gets another run out, but he's going to go. It would have been a second improvement had he not cut there, which would have shot him easily into the top 10. Fiasco now across the line. He goes 11th quickest. It's a near 8/10 improvement out of the Ferrari. Jump on with Undertaker as he's flying down into turn 8, and he gets it done where Aliavci couldn't on that inside curbing. He didn't take too much. He comes out of the final turn. What's it going to be? It's a 9/10 improvement from him. A 104.009 into 9th position.
Yeah, Domi rounding the penultimate corner into the final corner. He was just about improving on his time. It wasn't enough out of sector 2, but it is enough out of sector 3. 1/10 found, and that puts him straight into the provisional pole slot. But we've got Kai Bacchini, Darren Alfie, Maxime B, and Wisp. The rest of the top 5 all on outlaps.
Well, it's a lot of drivers on outlaps who still got some time in this session, and it feels like it's been a lot longer than it is. We've had a lot of action, a lot of changes of position on this grid. Domi now into provisional pole position. The Hungarian going to be very happy with that. Kai Bacchini, Darian Alfie, Maxim, and Wisp are all up to bat, and the first one coming to the plate is going to be Wisp coming down into turn 1.
Yeah, Darren Alfie's teammate, Extreme, just ahead of him. Don't know whether he's starting a flyer or... It looks like he is. He was slowing down and it sort of backed him into his teammate here. So I don't know whether a slipstream is what they're intending, but that's how it looks like it's playing out here. And it is Darren Alfie getting a little bit of a slipstream off his teammate down towards turn 3. A little bit of a slide out of the third turn though. Wisp
down on his
down.
Yeah, he's down on his time right now. So we'll have to see if you can find anything here in sector 3, but a 10th in these conditions can be hard to find, and he just he is holding on for dear life coming through that final turn right now. Is it going to be an improvement? It is not. So Darian Alfie now, he's on an invalidated lap. Adrian behind him.
Alfie just invalidated out of turn 8. Kai Bacchini though, he's almost 1.5 tenths up on his previous best time. Currently sitting 0.04 of a second behind Domi, so he just needs to keep it valid and fast through this final sector, and that's not a problem for the Mercedes driver. It's going to be a 103.155 coming out of Kai Bacchini, 1.5 tenths faster than anyone else so far this session.
Very
Maxime B
nicely
coming
done.
back into the pits.
Kai will be happy with that. Getting it up on pole. Not the first time we've seen it. Cotter's on a flyer now, it would appear.
Yeah, Wisp just invalidates in a similar spot to where we saw Darren Alfie do it. Avatari.
Cotter's just shy of his previous lap. It was 100th down. Gadwin is currently flying, and he's up on a time. Aliavci has just begun a flyer, and we have some Ferraris on outlaps about to begin.
Yeah, also flying Dirk Chocolate, currently sitting in 7th place. And now he's going to cross the line. He's 2 tenths down on his previous best. Probably not going to see any improvement unless he's really struggled with Sector 3 in previous laps. He is going to continue with the run. He's going to round up the lap. Edwin, I believe, a 103.7 coming out of the Red Bull, which bumps him into 7th place. Finally switching to those soft compound tyres.
Little Bear.
There's Little Bear.
He's shown up. He jumps into 7th position there, and Ali Avci says, I'm going to take 4th. Well, you guys are fighting over those midfield positions. But a very nice time, a 103.4 out of him.
Yeah, now those 2 Ferraris. They're going across the line. Lamp. Looks like he's just started a flyer. Some to Jasko as well. A lot of drivers still out on flying laps right now. On circuit, one of the most notable being Domi, currently sitting in 2nd place. I think it was Maxime B just sitting on 103.5, if I'm not mistaken, putting him in 5th place.
The gap to leader right now, ladies and gentlemen, from 1st down through to 18th position on this grid is 1 second.
And that these close qualifying sessions always lead to close racing. It's Liam, a 103 flat.
And the Canadian, the reigning Tier 2 champion, has shown up in Austria to just smack that gauntlet away. And is Domi going to be able to do anything about it? No, is the answer. What about the Canadian counterpart to Liam, Mr. Maxim B? He's coming down through Sector 3. And it's a Red Bull on pole here around the Red Bull Ring.
Maxime B just missing out on 5th place. Saliapsi. And he doesn't jump up any positions as a result of that attempt.
So Liam on pole position here in this one. Kai Bacchini in 2nd position, lining up next to him, and those two have quite the history, and it's going to be the Hungarian of Domi just missing out here. Less than a 10th separating the top 3 right now, and it's less than 5/10 all the way down to P10. And the AIs are having a little bit of a party over here. The Red Bulls want to get together as we wait for this session to tick down.
Yeah, the AI in these qualifying sessions is rather a weird one.
Understatement of the year.
Liam's car just sort of patrolling the start-finish straight at 20 miles an hour.
They're all out of gas.
Yeah, he's just come to a complete standstill, pretty much.
Well, once again, it is going to be Liam in the Red Bull on pole position. A 1:03.096 was the time here for the Austrian Grand Prix, the Red Bull Ring. Of course, Kai Bacchini there in 2nd, lining up next to him on the front row. It was less than 600 separating those two, with Domi less than a 10th behind in 3rd position, with Darian Alfie on his debut in 4th and Ali Avci in 5th for Renault. That is your top 5, and we'll go down through the rest of this formation, well, the rest of this grid with you on the formation lap.
Yeah, and these times, we said it before, we'll say it again, they're so tight. I mean, Liam and Kai Bacchini separated. Actually, and third place, I believe that's Domi, I want to say, all within 1/10 of each other. So a nice battle for what might be the lead here come the end of the race. But if we have what we saw in EU and a lot of safety cars, strategy here, fairly important. Safety cars, though, will play a big role in that.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, if you're just tuning in, this is the Misfits Racing League Tier 2 race. It is the Austrian Grand Prix for round 11. Joining me is Unicorn from the UK. Of course, I'm Strifium, hailing from Canada. If you guys are interested in seeing some awesome racing later, we have Tier 1 action. Of course, hit that follow button if you're new. And we greatly appreciate all of you tuning in. It's for you guys that we do the races. So if you're ready for some super fast-paced action around a very quick circuit, let us know in the chat who you're rooting for. Get your friends. Get in here. It's going to be the Austrian Grand Prix, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, and this race start is going to be quite exciting with the drivers being so equal on pace, and you know, accelerating off the line is a skill in and of itself, and it doesn't really come from the pace of the drivers. So you could have very good pace, but you might not be as strong at race starts, and that's sometimes when you see these drivers gain 3 or 4 places off the start line just because they've nailed that starting sequence. So that could play a big factor here today.
Oh, definitely. Really quick before we jump into some of the stuff about this circuit, because it is a quick lap around here from formation. We have Liam once again on pole position, Kai Bacchini in second. You have Domi in third. That's Darian Alfie in fourth, with Ali Avci rounding out your top 5. Maxim B in sixth. Gadwin in seventh. He took a win around here on Tuesday. That's Wisp in eighth. Max Inkster in ninth, and Little Bear rounding out the top 10. Adrian in 11th. Dirk Chocolate in 12th. You have Crampy there in 13th, with Cotters in 14th, Undertaker in 15th today, rounding out the top 15 now. And then it's Lamp, Yasko, Extreme, Gauzy Egg, and Squid for the remaining 5 drivers ahead of this one.
Yeah, and we can see now a fair few of the drivers on the free car choice, medium compound tyres. Adrian in 11th, he'll be looking to wreak some havoc when pit stops start becoming a thing, as well as Crampy Cotters. And a few of the drivers behind them. Extreme, the only guy opting for the hard compound tyre here this evening. It can run for a good 18-20 laps around here.
Top 5 drivers seem to be in a battle of their own here, with the remainder of the grid taking its sweet time to get up to the grid. So these front runners now, they might have a little bit colder tires than they might have liked. Of course, let's take a look at the tires. You have Adrian, Crampy, Cotters, Undertaker, Yasko, all on mediums with Squid as well. Only one driver on the hards and Unicorn. It's time for Tier 2 racing.
Yep, here we go. We're waiting for the drivers. Their lights aren't the same as ours, but it's not going to matter. There they are. They're revving their engines here. They're still yet to be shown their red lights, but there we go. And it looks like Kai Bacchini has got a much better start than Liam beside him. Down into turn 1, the Mercedes is going past the Red Bull. You can see Domi. He might get past as well. And behind them, there's a McLaren. I think that's Little Bear. He's spun around out of turn 1. And there's end plates flying. There's an Alfa Romeo as well. I think that's Maxime B. Indeed it is. He's had trouble out of the first turn. Up at the front there, we've got a VSC, so no overtaking alarm. That's causing a bit of confusion up at turn 3. And when this safety car ends, we might have a fair bit of action, depending on what happens and people get caught sleeping, etc., how they're paying attention to the Delta.
Yeah, it's going to be really curious to see how Domi reacts with Kai Bacchini here. The Delta can be quite the difficult thing to stay. Oh, and we're back to green flag racing right now already, so everybody's away looking for some overtakes. Undertaker getting the better of Yasko, as like Yasko may have gotten the better of him.
Oh, and Lamp spun into the gravel trap. He's got no front wing. He is
Yasko, Dirk Chocolate right now. Dirk Chocolate with a lot of damage, and there's going to be a whole whack of drivers coming into the pit lane here, I imagine, as there's still a major battle in for lead of this race. And there's another yellow flag through sector 3. We'll have to see what that sparks, but it's Liam now coming out of turn 1. He's on the inside of Domi. No DRS yet for these drivers, and it's a serious battle between these two. Kai Bacchini in first is going to be happy about that. Domi with a switchback, a good exit from the Hungarian, but it's so tight between these two. They're wheel to wheel coming down into turn 4. Domi just ahead of the Red Bull. Wheel to wheel now. Oh man, what an exchange between these two we're seeing unfold. There's still wheel to wheel. The Williams versus the Red Bull here. Domi around the outside now. He's gotten out in front of that Red Bull once again, and it looks like he's going to hold station there for now. Meanwhile, it's his teammate Gadwin in 4th position that is there as a safety, with Darian Alfie, who has dropped to 6th position here. He is now behind Ali Avci. When all of these drivers cross the timing line once again, we'll get an updated interval picture.
Yeah, and now coming on to lap 3, we should get DRS coming into the mix as well. And Gadwin had a really good lap that time, getting past Ali Avci into turn 3, and now ERS and DRS on his teammate. The two Red Bulls, they're going to be side by side coming through turn 2. Who's going to get the better entrance and exit out of turn 3? Gadwin a little bit wider around the outside, and he's going to be ahead of Liam for the time being. Is Liam going to be vulnerable to the Renault of AEDT behind? He's lost the position to his teammate. And this at the Renault backing out a bit early, but deciding to go up the inside. A little bit of contact between the two, and Liam holding it around the outside. Looks like he's backed out enough to avoid spinning that Red Bull.
We're going to have to take a look at Liam's car here. Is there any... He has no damage on that front end. So I don't know what is happening, but he is not having to start it. It looks like an engine hot situation, as we've heard Verstappen say once before. But of course, that Red Bull not having the time of his life here in the Red Bull ring around the home Grand Prix for that squad. Right now, it's Darian Alfie still tight to the rear of AEDT coming down the pit straight.
Yeah, that first lap incidents that we, so commonly see down into turn 1, especially sort of lends itself in Austria. There's sort of two grids here. It's like we're running a multi-class race. You can see from Undertaker back there and a completely different section of the track to the rest of the racers.
Yeah, and that VSC has really thrown a wrench into some of the gaps that we saw at through qualifying. I think a lot of these drivers are starting to really come into their own now. We have a big difference in tire strategies here. A significant amount of drivers who have come into pit already in this race. Things on the opening 5 laps of this race have really shaped how this one's going to go, and Darian Alfie is just sticking to AEDT like glue here, less than half a second between them. And the big question is, when is he going to pull the trigger? He has a ton of energy reserve.
Yeah, I don't know if it's AEDT's setup here, but he seems to be running wide in a few of these corners. He seems to be struggling around turn 4, then through turn 6, so not sure. He just seems to be struggling a little bit, but he's not going slowly per se. And no, Darian not quite close enough to go for any moves. You can see these guys. You can see AEDT there getting a 3-second time penalty for going wide on the exit of turn 1.
Wisp right now, he is really reined in Darian here, and Darian isn't going to be happy about that. The Swede in the AlphaTauri really wanting to get up this grid.
Yeah, we've got this beautiful sort of combination of cars, 3rd down through 7th, a fairly closely knit train. With the two Red Bulls up at the front of it.
Yeah, and over time that train's going to fall into, of course, the hands of the drivers on the harder compound tires in this one. We have a yellow flag through Sector 3 there. I don't know who that is. It looks like it's a Ferrari.
I think it might be a lamp. I don't know if he's had another issue. We saw him spin into the goal trap earlier. He is missing an end plate, so whether he's come into contact with one of the walls out of turn 8 or 9.
Squid down the inside of Undertaker, I do believe, down through turn 4. Into 14th position as we'll move on over with Gazieg. He's quite tight to the rear of the McLaren. That's Little Bear, and he's going to have a run coming down into turn 1, and it looks like he's going to get him, but we have to switch now because it's Liam on the inside of Gadwin up through turn 3. Darian Alfie and Wisp having an exchange. Darian Alfie holding on to 6th position for the time being. It looks like Wisp really wants that position, and we're going to jump back on over with Little Bear. He's up the inside of Gazieg. Gazieg took that position through turn 1. There's a little bit of contact. Nothing too major, though. Both getting a bit of a shake on the exit. Little Bear now with a move back on the inside now of the Mercedes. Wheel to wheel through turn 4. The Mercedes around the outside. Ooh, Little Bear holding through. He's in 12th at the moment, and he is ahead of Gazieg to maintain that 12th position. So he used this lap to take it back, but was it all for naught? Gazieg showing great pace at the moment.
And that's Lamp out of the session into the pit lane. The first retirement. Obviously no safety car going to come from a pit lane retirement, but still our first driver out of this race.
Really not too sure what happened with Lamp there.
Yeah, he just seemed to not be having the race sort of weekend that he'd like.
Gazieg with a big reach there for position on Little Bear. It looked like he just overshot turn 1 a bit, and he's dropped off Little Bear significantly. We're going to jump back on board now with this train of cars that has been separated between, well, Cavaccini has Domi hot on his rear, but Liam is a wrench in this entire train right now, separating those two front runners.
Yeah, Liam seems to be quite strong going into that turn 3, late on the brakes, up the inside, and just sort of blocking off the entrant exit for the driver. He's doing that move on, and obviously it's not a dive bomb. He's perfectly entitled to do it, as long as he doesn't cause any collisions as a result. He seems to be very strong going into that corner. He seems to have nailed that maneuver, but it's Gadwin not getting the exit he would like out of turn 1. Is this going to leave him vulnerable to the Renault? Aliavizzi, though, not got a lot in the tank in terms of ERS, and this track's so hard to nurture that battery around.
Cavaccini and Domi in a fight for the lead right now. Domi has made it ahead of Kai into lead of this race, coming down into turn 4 with a little bit of a lockup on the front right. We'll have to see what Kai can do, perhaps get this position back, because Liam is actually catching them as they continue to battle. He has caught 3/10 in the last couple sectors.
Liam is in such a strong position right now. His teammate behind him, he's battling with Aliavizzi, and it's going to be like that for the time being, I think. Especially if the Renault can recharge the battery, and you've got the two cars ahead fighting it out. He's just sort of left to not only just preserve his tyres, but just gain on the cars in front.
Yeah, Cavaccini and Little Bear each just taking 3-second time penalties there, and that's going to cost Kai dearly, especially from the end of this race. Should he have anyone in close proximity, we'll have to see how he can carry through. Him and Domi being quite quick right now. On the inside is Kai up through turn 3. He's made the move, but he's gone a little deep. Domi not quite able to get the traction he needs to escape that, well, to get ahead of that Mercedes. But of course now Cavaccini with the DRS, keeping him out in front of that Williams for the moment.
Yeah, that DRS detection zone sort of enabling Cavaccini to just get a little bit of a gap between him and the Williams.
Big drift out from Domi there coming through turn 5. Now through 6 and 7.
Yeah, well, we're on the 9th lap of this Grand Prix, and this is where these soft compound tyres are going to start to just sort of start to drop off in pace, and people are going to start considering this pit stop.
The one key thing to note here is that both of these drivers have a very significant amount of ERS deployment, and Liam behind them is catching up and charging, and this train is now from 1st down through into 7th position, and these front runners are not going to be happy because Liam has enabled this train to get closer in catching up with them. That fighting has cost them dearly. Now they've got other players.
Cotter's on the inside of Dirk Chocolate, almost spinning his car, trying to get past. Down through turn 6 and 7, and Dirk's holding on to turn 16, place 16, sorry.
Yeah, meanwhile, Yasko has overtaken Crampy.
So there are still battles going on further down the grid despite that early few issues. Down towards turn 1. Cotters, he's not going to be close enough for the move yet. DRS though, up the hill towards turns 2 and 3. He's utilised all of his ERS. His charge is at 0%. Is he going to go for the move?
Oh, and Aliavizzi's had an issue. He's come into the... Oh, he has not had an issue. He's decided to just jump into the pit lane here, it would seem. It's odd why he would lose so many positions so quickly there. Maybe he did have an issue and had to pit as a result, but he's going to be the first of these soft runners into the pit lane here.
Yep.
As Domi
up the inside of Cavaccini into turn 3, and he's not going to get the exit he needs. He's going to get DRS though. He's going to get the run down into turn 4. He is up the inside of the Mercedes. Cavaccini looking to hold it around the outside. He's early on the power, a bit too early, and he's almost spun it, but there's a Williams there stopping that car's rear end from going too much further around. Domino up into 1st place.
That was very intense between those two there. We had the side shot coming on the Williams, and we saw it when Kai kind of lost it there. A little bit squirrely in that wheel-to-wheel exchange.
Oh. See, onto the hard compound tyres, so you would expect he's going to try and drag those tyres to the end of this Grand Prix. 24 laps.
Yasko with a move up the inside of Adrian into turn 1. And he's made it happen, but Adrian isn't finished with him. He wants to have a run back, but it's going to be the DRS for the Ferrari that I think holds off the AlphaTauri. For now, Adrian looks to the inside. He thinks about it. You could see he was indecisive.
Yeah, and Kai Vicini, after that mistake last lap, is falling back into the clutches of Liam now. He's out of DRS range of Domi.
Adrian late on the brakes, a big tap into the rear of the Ferrari. That's Yasko with a bit of a spin, and it's going to be Adrian that holds off to let him get and recover. But Crampy now on the inside is going to dispatch the AlphaTauri, and that's just bad news for Adrian. And it's even worse news for Yasko because this has really allowed Crampy to put him in his sights.
Yeah, and up at the front, we've got Kai Vicini. He's into the pits as well as Wisp in the AlphaTauri. So we've got a couple of people hopping onto hards now to go towards the end of this race. We haven't seen a full-fledged safety car yet, but we'll see one later on in the race, which should prove interesting for these guys going on to the hard compound tires now.
Ooh, Kai Vicini with a big slide out on the exit of the pit lane. We saw it. He's fortunate he didn't go into the inside wall there. Everybody coming through now, getting some tires on, and Dirk Chocolate is still defending himself against Cotters in this Alfa Romeo. Things extremely tight right now as they make their way through into the final turn. Really wide comes Cotters. Overtake DRS enabled. Is he going to be able to get it done here as they pass Little Bear now? Ooh, Dirk Chocolate. A little bit deep through turn 1 there. Cotters with a clean entry. He has the DRS and overtake. He gets ahead of Dirk. He jumps ahead into, well, in front of that McLaren into the braking zone.
Oh, and Crampy's had an off out of turn 8. I don't know if there's damage on that Haas. Doesn't look like it.
No, he has no damage on that Haas. Oh, and he's had a big spin on that curb as the Renault comes by, and he's now across the circuit. What on earth has happened with Crampy?
I think those tires are just completely overheated. He's soldiering on though. He doesn't want to get off of the medians yet.
Well, things have really spaced themselves out now on this grid with all of the difference in tire strategies and the pit stops as well. Of course, penalties can play a role come through the finish of this race, but I definitely think we're going to see this grid tighten back up. Of course, we are on lap 14 out of 36. If you're enjoying the stream, let us know in the chat, and of course, hit that follow button if you're new, because we have a ton of racing coming to you. Of course, later this evening, we have the Tier 1 grid, which is going to be very, very scary and very intense.
And this grid was so tight throughout qualifying, and now you wouldn't really guess it, would you? You can see most people out of DRS as a result of these pit stops. And now Kai Vicini, where is he going to come out in relation to Domi? Is he going to get the undercut here? He is. Or the side-by-side, actually, as Domi has just come out of the pit stops, but he's on medium compound tyres compared to Kai Vicini's hards. Down into turn 3 they go, and Domi up the inside. He might instantly retake back this position. He's up the inside, though, and we've seen Kai Vicini get a good exit out of here before. And now it's Domi with DRS just breezing past, and he is in, or once again, in what is effectively the race lead. Yasko ahead of them, yet to pit off of those medium compound tyres.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was the right call for Kai Vicini, because he has Liam, Godwin, Darian Alfie all on medium compound tires behind him. Domi has just overtaken him. Liam is towering down on this Mercedes right now in the Red Bull. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Right now, the mediums are faster, but it could be Kai with the better pace come the end of this race.
The thing is here, I feel like the medium tyres, the runners on them right now are going to have to pit off them towards the end of this race, I think. I don't know, I feel like it's possible to go to the end, but the pace is really not going to be there. But I don't think Kai Vicini is going to have much pace towards the end of this race either. So It's definitely an interesting mix of strategies here, but one thing we gotta factor in, is anyone gonna pit for soft compound tires, which I believe we saw Maxime B do, I want to say France, and he carved his way back up through the field. Or do we have a situation where we have a late safety car and it sort of equalizes the tire strategy and Kai Bacchini loses out because he's on these slower tires now, and he loses positions, and under the safety car they all pit for mediums, softs, whatever, and he loses out that way. So yeah, like you said, Kai Bacchini, it might work out for him, but right now I feel like the medium tires are the tires to be on.
Well, Yasko has just overtaken Max Inkster, and he's on some red-rimmed soft compound tires, as Liam now is very tight to the rear of Kai Bacchini. Domi in lead of this race right now. It's these three drivers on the podium positions for the moment, and Kai Bacchini has the Red Bull of Liam very tight to his rear. DRS enabled overtake, full swing. And look at the speed coming out of these mediums in comparison right now. There's not a lot that Kai Bacchini can do at the moment. They are on two completely different strategies.
Yeah, the Mercedes driver was sitting duck there for the Red Bull to just pick off, really. And Kai Bacchini, he's got 2.5 seconds between him and Gadwin behind, but I don't think that's going to stay that sizable for that long.
Dark Chocolate has come into the pit lane. Gazieg has also come into the pit lane. Excuse me, it was Gazieg that came in, and I had read it as Dirk, but regardless. Darian Alfie has caught up quite closely to Gadwin, and they are both on mediums.
Yeah, the Racing Point definitely had a good display for his debut so far. DRS now on that Red Bull ahead of him, both on fairly fresh medium compound tyres, as he takes a 3-second time penalty for just taking too much of that inside curb at turn 1. So again, penalties, they played a huge role in the EU race earlier this week. Whether they'll play a huge role here this evening, I imagine they will. Depends how many drivers have got them.
Yeah, look at the tire strategies. You have mediums, hards. You've got Yasko right in 7th there on the softs. There's so much difference of choice here, excuse me, on what to do. All the different lap life variables here. A lot of drivers still yet to pit. Well, not yet to pit, but they had to pit early, which puts them on into a very unique position, because they'll be able to go a little bit longer on the mediums and hards and get onto perhaps some softer compound tires. Who knows? It depends on what they started on as well. Kai Bacchini is still dropping time to Liam.
Yeah, and Gadwin, he doesn't seem to be catching too as quickly as maybe I would have anticipated. But Darian Alfie as well, not doing too much in the terms of catching Gadwin, but he is reserving a lot of ERS, so when he does decide to pull that trigger, then he will make the move fairly easily, and it looks like now might be that time for the Racing Point around the outside. Absolutely blistering pace. It looks like the Red Bull's come into contact with him. A bit late on the brakes maybe for Gadwin and misjudging the corner. He's held on to 4th place, but I think there might be significant damage on that front wing. I can't quite see it at the moment. Definitely an end plate missing.
That was very, very tight there. Not entirely sure what happened coming down into the turn.
Yeah, he's holding on. He hasn't come into the pits either, but now it's going to be Darian again. Looking to just breeze past him, turn it to turn 1. He can take his time.
Yeah, that front left end plate going to be costing Gadwin a good chunk of speed here.
Yeah, and they've both lost 1.5 seconds as well to Kai Bacchini, so they weren't closing quickly, and now they're not really closing at all, because Kai Bacchini is just hanging on to DRS on Liam, so...
Yeah, and this is crucial for Kai right now. As long as he's able to keep that DRS and fly away from the rest of this grid, he's in a good position here just to keep those podium positions as close as he can come the end of this race. On these hard compound tires, I think he is going to have that little bit of extra pace compared to these very, very worn mediums come that point. Like you said, you think that they are going to have to pit again. I am going to be inclined to agree with you because there is still 16 laps of this race left.
Yeah, and this is where, you know, for the time being, tyre strategy is going to remain unchanged for about, let's say, the next 8 to 10 laps or so, but once we get into the territory where soft tyres become viable again, it'll be interesting to see if anyone bites the bullet, tries to get an edge over their competitors, whether we see a late safety car here. That could throw a big spanner in the strategic works.
Oh, yeah. Definitely could really, really shake up this race, especially for drivers that are on these very old tires like Dirk Cotters and, of course, Squid ahead of them. Maxim B's also on some fairly worn medium compound tires. And it looks like Dirt Chocolate getting the call to come in here, getting off of these medium compound tires. I do believe he started this race on softs. I think he's going to go mediums here.
Yeah, it's interesting he's come in now. I mean, actually, I think this is the right call for Dirk. He wouldn't be able to stretch those too much longer. I was thinking we were closer to the end of this race than we are.
Little Bear on Gazieg now coming up into turn 3. Very, very, very tight there. I was going to say Little Bear just trying to stretch out his braking to get himself alongside that car into the turn, but he's just going to hold it, come back at him down into turn 4, and he is clean ahead on the inside now. Coming through turn 4, very neatly done, and this has really given Crampy an opportunity. He is on some soft compound tires, and he is flying right now to try to get himself back into this points running. And another thing to talk about is Gadwin. He is still sticking with Darian Alfie despite the damage he has on that front left end plate, or lack of the front left end plate right now. A lot of fights happening.
Crampy on Gazieg right now. He's going to get past here, down to turn 1. Easy peasy, but his tyre strategy to me is quite confusing because he can't go to the ends on these tyres. Absolutely no way. As he's wide out of turn 1, picking himself up a 3-second time penalty, so whether he's bringing himself back into contention or not, I'm not quite sure. He's going to look up Little Bear's inside into turn 3, and he's going to get the move done. Not a lot the McLaren can do.
Yeah, Little Bear perhaps going to come under threat from Gazieg on those mediums. That, and we're hearing from the chat now, of course, Freeware and Alex Bitto saying that Mr. Crampy can stretch those softs. So we'll have to see how he goes on that. Squid in another similar position as Liam Cabicini. Cabicini around the outside. Liam a little bit later on the brakes, lunges ahead of the Mercedes. Holding on to second position, but it's going to be Kai now with a move on the inside. Wheel to wheel coming through the left-hander. Kai ahead of Liam on the hard compound tires, and it looks like the pace is starting to fall off of those mediums in comparison. And that could be bad news for Domi. Oh, and there goes Liam. A big drift coming out of that. Oh, no. And he can't quite get it turned around the same way we've seen Max Verstappen do it. What's going to happen here? He is going to come in off of these medium compound tires. Is it time for the softs? He's lost a massive amount of time here, but could he go onto some softs and make it all up? Yasko right now is less than a second behind Wisp.
He's onto mediums. There's no way you can go to softs, I don't think, for 12 laps. It'd be a stretch if you did.
Yasko just breezing by Wisp, utilizing that DRS. He's into 5th position, coming through into turn 3, and now we'll see if Wisp's able to do something about it. A big slip out from that car on the exit of 3rd turn there, and of course he's got the DRS and overtake, but with that very poor exit, I don't know if it's going to be enough. At the very least on this lap, Squid takes a 3-second time penalty, and there is just so much action in this race, such a difference in strategy. Squid on the inside now of Ghazi, coming through into turn 1.
I'm interested to see where Yasko comes out of all of this. He's currently picking people off with these soft compound tires, but again, he's going to have to come into the pits in the next few laps. Again, for another set of fresh compound tyres so they can do it all over again, but it's going to be a short spurt to the finish. As he sets the fastest lap.
Squid gets something inside of Little Bear right now, and it's these fresh softs versus 10-lap old hards. You know how that one goes, and I think Squid's just going to fly away right now as Dirk Chocolate around the outside, coming through turn 4. He has got the Renault of Undertaker on the inside right now. This is extremely intense fighting, although not for points. It is for, as we always say, the bragging rights. Undertaker defending well right now. Domi is right behind them. These drivers getting shown the blue flags. That's Dirk first to yield here for the blue flag, and we'll see what that means for, of course, Undertaker. Cotters is just taking a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. That's Domi now out in front of Undertaker. Undertaker is going to get taken from the McLaren. It's down through the inside for Dirk, but Undertaker with good traction still holding it around the outside. Wow.
And these guys now, not only are they battling each other, but they've got Kai Vicini behind them, who is just using them for DRS right now. And Dirk Chocolate looks like he might be yielding before the corner to let Kai Vicini pass. Undertaker hasn't done the same though, so he's going to give Kai Vicini DRS down this straight as well.
Oh, no.
And this is just helping him catch Domi even faster.
Yeah, and as a result of pulling off for blue flags there, Cotters actually overtook Dirk Chocolate there into 16th position. And now Kai Vicini, with this train of back markers, is going to be able to leap himself up to the front runner, and this is going to be absolutely terrible for Domi because he has nobody else to give him the DRS. Kai Vicini now on Undertaker, getting through blue flags, kind of having to force his way through there. That was really, really scary.
Yeah, you can see Domi up ahead now. In Kai Vicini's sights, he's not far out of DRS range now. We've got, what is that, 9 laps to go here in this Grand Prix, and it's definitely not over yet.
Yeah, Cotters right now, he's escaped Dirk Chocolate. He's on these fresh mediums. Undertaker is his next target. Undertaker with a move off to the inside now. Cotters is alongside, coming down through turn 3. How's it going to go for these drivers? Round the outside is Cotters, and he is going to dispatch that the Renault in the Alfa Romeo. And now it's going to be the Renault looking for the move back down into turn 4. As Yasko has come in, and he's gotten onto another set of soft compound tires, it would seem. And Gadwin in 8th position is also on fresh softs. And of course, he took the win around here on Tuesday. We'll have to see how this plays in for him with all of these drivers ahead on these harder tires. It's going to be very intense. Adrian right now, less than a second away from Yasko, as Yasko is going to fly away on those softs.
Yeah, the word intense is going to describe Domi and Kai Vicini as well. If Kai does catch Domi, Domi has nearly a full battery of ERS. He is absolutely prepared for when Kai Vicini mounts an attack for the race win. Whereas Kai is down on almost single figures of ERS percentage.
This race has been very, very wild. There's been so many overtakes.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see the back of them for much longer. I think this grid is going to close up at the end of this race. One thing we haven't seen
different tires here. It's just weird. It's just weird to see. Vali Avci, he's in 6th position. He has Liam behind him on these fresh mediums, just tearing down the gap. And you have Gadwin, who has brought a second out on his teammate in the last lap alone. He is on these fresh softs, and it's going to be wild. And Yasko made the call to come in for fresh softs as well. He's in 9th position here. And as we said, these mediums near the end of this race, I think these guys on the front might have made the wrong call. I think Kai might be the one to win here. Calling it early.
It's interesting though. He's falling out. He's falling back actually a couple tenths to Domi ahead. So I'm not sure, Striff, because Domi right now, not only has he seemed to just picked up a little bit of pace, he's got ERS as well, much more than Kai Vicini.
We also have the major. I believe there's a major penalty situation as well.
Yeah, let's have a look at the race director while these guys soldier on. So Domi is clear. He's got 2 warnings, but no penalties to his name. Whereas Kai Bicini, he's got 9 seconds, I do believe. So Domi, pretty much a strong contender for the win. Darian Alfie, he's got 3 seconds of time penalties. Wisp, he's clear. 2 warnings again. Max Ingster, two penalties, so 6 seconds.
Take a look at the grid now. You can see the position changes. As Liam looking at Ali Avci right now for 6th position. Gadwin now 2 seconds away from these two, and they're fighting. So this is going to be good for Gadwin and Ali Avci. Just, you can see the difference in pace between these two racers right now. Liam having to pretty well lift at one point there. Dirk Chocolate, meanwhile, making a move on Undertaker. As we jump back to Liam. On the inside of the Renault now, coming up through turn 2, now into turn 3. He is ahead. Ali Avci, I think, switched to the inside, but wasn't able to do much there. He's on these hards, not going to have nearly as much traction through these kinds of turns.
Yeah, and Gadwin behind him on soft tyres. He could pose a real threat here as well. Crushing that gap. He's got DRS. Obviously, you're not going to get it through this section of track.
Trying to interrupt on Crampy. Up the inside now into turn 3. Crampy trying to fight back here. Is he going to get the switch onto the inside? Not a lot of traction coming out of his softs compared to Squid right now. But he is going to have that DRS and overtake. And now we're going to jump back. It's Liam. Ooh, Max Ingster. Not able to do anything against this coming through the penultimate turn. Liam along the inside, and very neatly done it was. And Max Ingster could be under threat from Ali Avci as well. With Gadwin. Look, he's already caught up with this. He's on these super fresh softs. Yasko 3 seconds behind him. And this is amazing. Max Ingster trying to fight back with Liam, and this is only going to cost the Red Bull of Liam, and this is going to be into major benefit for Gadwin here. He's going to have the DRS. He has the overtake coming out of turn 3. Ali Avci is first up. A little bit of a wheel bang there. Again.
What is... very questionable move from the Renault, but it's Max Ingster looking at the inside of Liam, not getting the exit he quite wanted out of turn 4 there. And everyone sort of holding on to their current positions.
Squid and Crampy still fighting coming out of turn 3, but this is all what we want to see right now. It's this fight between Ali Avci and Gadwin. Max Ingster now. Ali Avci has been squeezing Gadwin. It almost caused a major incident down into turn 4, but this time it was okay. He left a little bit of space here, but it doesn't matter anymore. Gadwin on these softs, he's fed up, but he does not have a lot of energy deployment, and the lack of patience right now on that ERS button is costing him massively. DRS is going to give him a good run, though, coming out on the Renault. They're wheel-to-wheel here. Ali Avci just holding on for dear life with his battery. They're exactly side by side right now. A little bit of a tap there from Gadwin and the Renault, but it's going to be Gadwin through into turn 3, and now that he has dispatched the Renault, he has another target, and that is going to be the Haas of Max Ingster.
He's going to look at Max here down into turn 4, too far back, and his teammate Liam absolutely romping away. He's 1.6 seconds as Gadwin very sideways out of turn 4. Is that going to leave him vulnerable to Ali Avci? It's not. He's too far back to take advantage of that mistake coming out of the Red Bull car.
Yeah, and lap after lap, we're seeing Squid and Crampy fight through up into turn 3. They're utilizing that DRS to catch one another. But we still want to see what Gadwin is able to do on these soft compound tires. Meanwhile, you still have Domi leading this race here on lap 33. Kai Bicini in second. Darian Alfie in third. And now there it is. It's Max Ingster and Gadwin wheel-to-wheel into turn 1. Gadwin into 6th on these much fresher soft compound tires. Ali Avci, Yasko behind. And Yasko's on fresh softs as well. Max Ingster, we saw it earlier, likes to fight back coming up into turn 3 here. Gadwin, though. Ooh, he looks at the inside with a lunge. He gets that front left into the wheel well between the front right and the back right for the Haas, and it's just all craziness for these guys in the midfield right now. Yasko ahead of Ali Avci, and he's going to be looking at the Red Bull as well. He was just carefully around the outside there. Gadwin having to recover a little bit. A snap from that Haas. Ooh,
It's the second time
Yasko
Gadwin
on the
has
inside.
struggled out of turn 4. And he doesn't have the tyre advantage over Yasko here. So he's going to be a little bit worried seeing that Ferrari in his rear view mirror down into turns 9 and 10, sorry. We've seen Gadwin have traction out of this last corner before. But he's slipped. He's spun it round. He's not retired the car and he's held it. So he's not going to be in the way, but that is going to put him out of the points for sure here. Because here comes Adrian. Where's Squid actually? Squid's actually a fair bit around, but Gadwin's going to have so much time lost here.
Yeah, and that major front wing damage isn't going to help him either. Yasko and Max Inkster on their battle now into turn 3. Yasko on the outside right now, and that's a Renault giving Max a little bit of a boost. That was Aliafchi into the rear of the Haas, and I think that might have just saved Max Inkster for the time being, but all for naught as Yasko around the outside now as we move our way down through into turn 4. He is out in front of the Haas, and that's the Ferrari into 6th position. Max Inkster on 19-lap old hards, joining the rest of the front 4 right now on these extremely worn, harder compound tires. Are the mediums going to last without puncture here? It is a good question, but Yasko doing good on these fresh soft compound tires to get himself into some points for the Ferrari team. I'm sure the Spaniard of Alex Bitto going to be happy about that, as he'll be looking to do the same in Tier 1 in just a short time.
I don't think the mediums are going to pop as much as it might be entertaining. I think that enough of the drivers here are confident. As we've got Aliafchi going up the inside of Max Inkster down into turn 1 in the Renault. He gets a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner, and he's getting a lot of time on the Haas. 6/10 down towards turn 2 and 3, but yeah, penalties, they're still gonna cast a shadow, I think, over the end results here.
No. Gadwin has ended his race in the pit lane. Very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, well, we have got Domi, Kaibachini, they're on to the final lap here. As Darian Alfie as well, his debut for MRL. He's on his final lap as well and currently sitting in a podium position.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the penalty situation shapes this grid right now. You have your prospective 3 podium finishes of Domi, Kaibachini, and Darian Alfie, and you can see on worn tires coming out of that final turn, a lot of these drivers are slipping. It wasn't just Gadwin. But out of the 20 drivers that began this race, we have 18 that are looking to finish it, and Domi is going to be leading the charge to the start-finish line to take the checkered flag as he comes through Sector 3.
Yeah, super impressive race from Domi. These tyres, he seems to have found pace where others have failed to do it. Even Kaibachini on the harder compound tyre, he's lost his pace towards the end of this race. I was thinking for sure that he would have to come in for a pit stop, but it is Domi with the win.
Kaibachini in 2nd position. Is he going to hold it with the penalties? Darian Alfie coming through now. He was 9 seconds away. He does maintain P2. Kaibachini. Darian takes 3rd. Wisp now rounding the final turn here. He comes 4th, and Liam 5th with Yasko.
Max Inkster jumps Aliafchi into the last, 7th. Compared to 8th for the Renault. Adrian holds on to 9th. Is Squid going to jump any places in the Williams? I don't think so. That gap is huge.
Nope. So that's it right there. I think you're going to get your points finishers. Crampy, maybe. Little Bear. Getting ahead.
Crampy's
Crampy's
got
out of
tire
fuel.
puncture.
Is he puncture or fuel?
Puncture.
Oh, no. So
it's a puncture on his front left.
Little Bear has caught him last second there. Hung out to dry. The tire couldn't do its job.
A McLaren around the final turn of Austria gaining a position. Where have we seen this before?
Yasko getting the driver of the day call. Well, what a race. It's Domi with the win. Kaibachini P2 there, and it's Darian Alfie on his debut with a podium for Racing Point. Nicely done from all three of these guys, and that was an absolute fantastic race. I hope that all of you enjoyed that one. Of course, in just 45 minutes time, we are going to be back live with the Tier 1 race here around Red Bull Ring, and of course, I am extremely excited for that one. Mikal will be joining me in the comms booth. Of course, once again, Domi with the win, Kai Baccini in second, and it's Darian Alfie from 4th to 3rd here for your podium. Wisp in 4th, Liam in 5th, Yasko 6th, Max Singster in 7th, Ali Avci in 8th with Adrian in 9th. Squid rounds out your top 10. Little Bear in 11th, Crampy in 12th, Gazieg in 13th with Cotters in 14th, Undertaker in 15th, and Dirk Chocolate there in 16th. He got the late call to reserve, so I would not be surprised if he was a little cold getting into this one with Maxim in 17th, Extreme in 18th there, Gadwin with a very unfortunate finish to this one. He still gets 19th position and qualified as a finish. Lamp, the only driver here in this one with a DNF classification, and it was very unfortunate to see that happen to the Ferrari. But Unicorn, what a cracking race that was here around Austria. Let's have your take on it.
Yeah, not what I was expecting after seeing that grid, to be honest. I think that lap 1 really just shook up the race from what we were going to expect. We had that completely compacted grid, so close in qualifying, and then after turn 1, after the VSC, you have a completely different story. You've got everyone spaced out, you've got tyre strategies here, there, and everywhere. I think Domi, like I said, held on to those mediums so well. I think Darian Alfie, a similar story coming out of the racing point there. Kai Baccini as well. I didn't expect those hards to have pace towards the end, but he managed to hold on to P2, and I think, you know, it was a fairly impressive race. Penalties didn't play too much of a role. I think that was just because most people had similar amounts of penalties and the gaps between everyone. But yeah, a good race and not the one I was expecting to have here this evening.